Thanks for watching Fight Back Podcast. If you like the show, like, subscribe, or share the video. There's also donation links in the descriptions. All right, we're filming with JT and Bryan, two friends. Kind of funny how I met Bryan. He walked up to me. What did you say? Oh, I prayed to God I was going to meet you today.
Yeah.
What? A little taken aback. But then I talked to him like, oh, this is a likable guy. Like 30 minutes later, let's go do a podcast. We came in and filmed. But then it was kind of strange. A couple days later, I've never had this happen. Someone calls and be like, my friend needs a demon exorcism. And I was like, oh, it's just me, Bryan. and you're a down motherfucker. We were going to, not getting too many details. You were going to drive to Mexico with me, go to a cartel fucking back place, try to break someone out.
I'm all about it, bro, dude.
Like, I'm like, all right, I'm going to swing by, pick you up. I talked to people down in Mexico, and it turned out they're like, no, bro.
Maybe a little too more dangerous.
Don't do that. But he was totally like down to, I'm like, I'm going to pick you up tomorrow. We're driving down to
Well, Bryan's got a flamethrower. He's got nunchuck skills. He's got bow skills. He's got.
I have a lot of weapons experts.
I hope you're bringing them all to Mexico.
He's got lots of skills.
Lots of weapons.
Not many people you've known for years will drive down to Mexico to try to break someone out of a cartel controlled facility.
Bro, the Lord set it up.
He's like coming up with ideas too of how to get him out. Like, how are we gonna break him out?
I mean, I've seen Narcos. I don't know yet. It might be a little dangerous.
Yeah. I talked to people down there. They're kind of talking me out of it. Plus, it was hard to find exactly where he was at.
But maybe that was the Lord protecting us from getting a little too crazy. But hey, you know,
both be a little crazy. But I appreciate you that you were willing. And I can tell you generally would have gone. You weren't. Yeah. I can tell you weren't going to back out. I'm like, I'll drive you, pick you up Bakersfield. You're 100% in, committed.
I was
going over plans. Yeah. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. That would have been epic if we'd have pulled that off.
It would have been pretty fun for sure. I mean, but bro, like I've dealt with so many people that have like been trapped by like facilities like that, and they're completely ran by Satanists. Like I know it sounds like a joke, but like straight up, dude, like so many of the mental health facilities in America, and I don't know about Mexico, but I'm sure it's the same. But here in America, like they're ran by like high priestess of the Church of Satan, and they do rituals on the people in the facilities, and they come out and they say this stuff, and they go, "Oh, you're crazy," and they deny it. And so because once you've been 5150'd, whatever you say is like not held up in a court of law. So they get away with some stuff. And I know that sounds really dark, and I don't even want to get into it, the amount of stuff that I know that I've dealt with, because like it's kind of scary actually when you start looking into it. It's very disturbing.
No, and I've never been able to get in touch with my friend. Supposedly he's getting out in the next couple of weeks, but it's like I couldn't get a phone call. I kept getting the runaround. Like something's clearly off there.
Dude, it's a dark world, like the occult world of what they do with like in psychology and magic and hypnosis. There is like a whole nother world people are very oblivious to. They think it's fake or make believe or whatever. It's something else.
You know, the person that called me basically was saying he's in a place ran by evil people, and then he also needs an exorcist. Just the most insane call. But I'm like, well, Bryan said we're supposed to meet a couple of days ago. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's all crazy coincidence. Maybe not.
We'll see. Well, we'll find out. I'm sure we'll see what the Lord leads.
Yeah, but I think in a couple of weeks, actually, we might need to. Hopefully, he's really getting out, and we can make something work.
Yeah, we'll pray and see what happens, dude. Like there's a lot of freedom when you pray and cast demons out. So
I'm learning. I'm new to believed in God for a while, but still working on my spirituality. But
dude,
you realizing maybe they do guide you to certain things.
He guides us, and really, it's like you just got to listen to your heart. A lot of times, people they'll say this in church. They'll be like, being a good person isn't going to get you to heaven. Well, being a bad person is definitely going to keep you out. And it's like people. That's a naive thing to think. I think, in my perspective, it's like, dude, the Holy Spirit's speaking to like everybody, and if they listen quietly enough to their heart, He guides us. And if you're paying attention, like God loves us all, and He'll guide you in the directions you're supposed to go. Speak to the people you're supposed to talk to, and He's got His people, and we're peculiar, and it's interesting, and it's great, and it's fun, and the Lord is, I don't know, sets things up like this. Like we're all
absolutely.
Yeah, I almost have like sometimes like a feeling or a calling or intuition. Maybe that's like God, where I feel like, oh, I'm supposed to go talk to this person, or I have to do this, and you feel like some kind of connection. Maybe that's God. I don't know.
Right.
I just like, oh, it's my gut instincts, my intuition, but it's like.
Well, you have a conscience, and if you listen to it, typically your conscience is not telling you to do bad things; it's telling you not to do bad things, and then you get guilty when you don't even do the good thing that you should have done. Like when you said, "Man, I should have helped that person out," like that is God speaking to you, and I think that's part of creating God's image, because you do have that kind of not the ability to discern what's good and what's not good if you listen. But if you violate it and you can and deny it, then eventually that leads you into a dark place, and then you can be.
We know what's good and wrong. Completely off subject, but one time it just popped in my head. This story. I wish I'd done the right thing. I saw this little black kid after Christmas got his bike stolen, and he was like crying. And I can understand because I had no money, and I could have easily spent $300, whatever it was, to buy him a new bike. But I'm walking off. About 10 minutes later, I said, "Fuck, I need to run back and buy him a bike." And I bought it, and I couldn't find him. It just ate me up for so long.
Dang.
I could have so easily bought that kid a new bike, and I understood the pain he went through. You know, my bike stolen as a kid, didn't have a bike, and
Right.
these kids can't just get another bike. It's not like people say theft doesn't harm people, but you're poor and your parents can't just buy you another bike. The pain he was going through, it just ate me up. Like, why the fuck didn't I not just go buy my bike right then?
Dude, that's a good lesson to learn. Is like, not missing that opportunity, because that God does teach us the lesson that like if you are called to do something, you're supposed to do it.
Yeah,
then
that bothered me so much.
you're supposed to do it right then.
I think that's why it bothered me, because I knew I failed. Because right away it crossed my mind, and I walked off, and then ran back to do it. I'm like, I completely just failed.
But good thing the Lord is gracious enough that He like, even though we fail and things like that, like he provides other opportunities, but it does put a bigger weight on your shoulders to make sure you don't
Because there's
miss
no
it.
excuse why I didn't do it. I could have a couple $100 worth of bike would have nothing to me, but it would have totally changed his month, year.
Yeah,
Dude.
We're God's hands and feet, so so a lot of times it's like.
But we all make mistakes.
Well, I
too,
mean, the thing
I've
is
done
like
far worse than that. Obviously,
what it says, like in the Epistle of James, it says that like if you just say pray for somebody and say be well, but you actually had the means to help this person. Well, what good is that?
It says that
like
in the Bible.
So it's the idea that it's like people are looking for miracles, but God uses people to create miracles for other people all the time.
Bro, what's up? He just wants to jump in.
Hey,
podcast crashers.
What's up, dude?
What's up, brother Jake? Good to meet you.
Yeah.
Or are you the guy they were talking about?
Okay, so I just
No,
Yeah.
You can sit down for a second if you want.
Yeah. Is there another chair in here? Shoot, we gotta like add him in or
What are you
something.
guys talking about?
We're
gonna
talking
talk
about how-
Right now, we're not talking about whatever. We got I don't have my podcast is a mess. We just go wherever direction
Are
we
you
want.
live right now?
No, we're not live.
Oh, okay.
Just pre-recording.
Maybe cut this or leave it in. We'll see. Hey guys, I'm demonetized everywhere. So if you want to support me and the podcast, go to fightbackpodcast.com and you can buy some cool merch like the shirt I'm wearing now. All right, we had a weird interruption because who is that guy? He's apparently
Tim Alberino.
Yeah,
he's a Nephilim dude.
He's a Nephilimologist, maybe.
You crazy people.
Yeah, right, exactly.
What have I got myself into?
Exactly, yeah.
But I'm fascinated by these types of conversations because I don't know the answer, but I realize there's clearly a spiritual realm out there, and I'm trying to understand it. And there's clearly, I believe in God, but there's clearly some other things out there too that aren't God's.
Well, this is like a situation, especially like I said, Tim came in here, and I had watched a lot of his content and read some of the stuff that he wrote. But like when you go down like this rabbit hole, kind of like the ancient mysteries about giants, Nephilim, the gods from the heavens, aliens, all the kind of weird stuff.
The pyramids, all the structures.
There's so many mysteries. So there's different theories. And like I said, I think it's fine because we like to always say that there's things that I know, there's things that I think, and then I have wild theories.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't think we're supposed to like really argue too much about
The wild theories.
yeah, the wild theories or the things that because they're just mysteries, and I think that's part of why like doing what we do is fun.
Fun conversations because some stuff are saying, hey, I'm pretty sure about this, but some stuff are totally speculating. Like I'm pretty sure there was an ancient lost civilization. Like I've seen enough evidence now that I believe that hypothesis.
Oh, absolutely.
Can I prove it? No, but I think the evidence. I think maybe in 30, 40 years, history might start teaching that.
Oh, absolutely. I think that it just seems just like based on the physical evidence. It's kind of like that. I believe that again, the pyramids being all around the whole world, and again, not just on the Giza Plateau. That's definitely evidence of a connected civilization.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they were all the same people, but I mean they all had the same knowledge. They did the same things. It's really unusual. And again, this is a time where people were supposedly very backwards, didn't have technology. Now that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that they all did the same things and they were all capable of doing it all around the world. So they're connected by their architecture. They're connected by like the Zodiac or the Mazzaroth. They all
very closely.
They all align their monuments with the
very important to all
with
of
the
them.
solstices, with the constellations, and just the idea of like the Zodiac is the fact that have you ever wondered like how are these people separated by thousands of miles seeing the same constellations and pointing to them being the same representative, like of a dragon or a lion or a woman? It's like, I look up there and I can see the Big Dipper.
Yeah, but
I get the Big Dipper,
but not all the other stuff.
But yeah, these people do have this connected knowledge of the stars, and I do believe, the heavens are, kind of like what they say, and this is not something I go by, but the as above, so below. It's like that the Giza Plateau is lined up with, Orion's belt.
Yeah.
That's not an accident. I mean, obviously that means that there was probably knowledge from the stars, and I think that's interesting. We were talking about the last time about the Book of Enoch, is these angels came down and they taught men astronomy or astrology. So, I mean, that makes more sense that somebody told them what this means, and then they made monuments and edifices on the earth to represent the things that are in heaven.
It was so many different societies put so much value into it.
Yeah.
It was like the most important thing to a lot of people. Astrology. It was like everything.
Oh yeah.
So to have the importance of it just to be random, all these different cultures, seems unlikely. And back to the rock work. Have you seen a lot of these rock things will be like, it looks like saw cuts, drill holes, and some of these giant rock things.
Oh
You have
yeah.
to look this up if you haven't seen it. It's crazy. It looks like where they're like testing it.
Well, what about the plateaus, like the mesas, where they just go up and they look like tree roots, and then they're just flat on top? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, you're talking about like the Devil's Tower? Like,
Oh yeah.
Stuff
Those,
like that.
those look like giant lost.
They look like ancient.
I have seen those.
They look like giant
trees.
trees.
It looks
look
like a
they
giant
were-
tree.
Giant,
It does to
giant
me.
trees.
I think
that
that's.
were
I
chopped
think it's
down.
like
Chopped
a
down.
fossilized tree. That seems definitely the most likely scenario there.
There's so much to some of that historical context, because there's a description in older texts that they don't tell you about that's not necessarily in the Bible, but like the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is like this text that is validated the Bible, and it's got extra text in it. There's things in it that talk about God sending down angels to chop down the trees before he flooded the earth, so that the giants can't climb up the trees to evade it, in a sense. And you're like, what is this? Like, what is
Well,
this
even in
giant
the book of Daniel, so that's right in the biblical canon everyone has. It mentions that it's a vision or a dream that Nebuchadnezzar sees, is that this tree grows up and its branches cover the whole earth. Now it's representative of his
There may-
empire,
yeah.
but
Shows there may have been these massive
but God
trees.
does tell an angel to go chop it down and bind the stump. Yeah, like that's what it said. I mean, that says, like I said,
Pretty weird.
People don't know that's in the Bible. But back to the
There's so much stuff in the Bible that I really need to read it.
But back to that thing you were talking about, those the stone architecture. I think it's really interesting when they talk about that mortarless,
It's the
mortarless
most-
walls.
With today, we use mortar to keep bricks together. They just purposely cut them, all these different angles, and just stuffed them together.
Do you know-
thousands of pounds? It's the most impressive thing I've ever seen.
Do you know why
they
they
magic?
Do you know what they call that kind of architecture or that kind of building?
No.
That style? They call it Cyclopean.
Cyclops.
Cyclops.
Interesting.
Because the Greeks believe giants created those.
It just defies like logic. I don't know if we could build that today. I was there just.
Have you been
like,
to Machu
hours at the
Picchu?
walls.
Didn't you go
I've been there, but the rock walls are even more impressive in.
Is it
Cusco.
Sacsayhuaman?
Oh.
Sacsayhuaman, yeah.
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 The most impressive buildings I've ever seen. I've never been to the Great Pyramids though, but it was just like, you're just like, holy shit.
It's like, where's the quarry at?
Yeah.
And how did, like, the logistics of it, I think, besides just the construction is hard to wrap your mind around.
Europeans
But
kinda do that.
but the logistics of it's like, where was the quarry at, and how did they get those stones?
Thousands of
up?
pounds. Yeah.
And you're talking about like, when you talk about like Machu Picchu,
That's
how?
way up at there.
How?
Well,
Machu
the-
Picchu is
the-
impressive, but this actually, how you say it, is actually more impressive. The one
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Cusco.
The interesting thing about Machu Picchu and Cusco, it's the same story, I believe, but in those areas, they
That
said
whole area
there was
has impressive stuff.
But the native stories are more interesting than the stories that they're telling you. Like if you were to Google it and ask how they what they say they built. Okay, so one of my friends is Peruvian, and I asked them, I'm like, hey, what's the actual story of what they say? And he said, bro, he's like, you would laugh if you actually knew what the actual story is. And I was like, well, what is it? And he was like, they believe that there is a race of giants that were homosexuals that were deformed and would eat people that built that area.
I'm
And he
staying
said,
away
in
from
a bro,
homosexual giants that rape and eat me.
yes, bro. And they said a star came down, shone really bright, and then all of them disappeared and ran into the mountains, and then the people came into the thing. And now that star is related in the story of the Gentil, which is in the Basque mythologies. There is another story
Yeah,
where
Basque country being like Spain, France area, where it's like you got all these megalithic dolmens and things like that.
Wow.
Which is separate, completely separate part of the world. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. There's
Totally
separate
separate part. But they have the same story that a star shone really bright, and the giants disappeared, and they all basically killed them. In fact, this is the story of Christmas.
Giants, like
the
gay
giants.
frogs.
Well,
Gay
you know,
giants.
like you could. That might be one explanation why they're not around anymore. Procreate.
Gay.
Yeah,
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
That's not really
They
good
gave
to keep the
themselves-
line going.
When I was in Peru, I met some people who knew I was from jiu-jitsu, and like, oh, let's take you on this secret hike. So we went
Oh, really?
way up, elevations like over 10,000. I ended up puking and trying to keep up with the hike. We get there, they have these perfectly cut like portals, like just
Those
cut
are demon
into the
doors.
like
wall.
Stargates
Yeah, they're just
or
rock.
something.
They're demon
Yeah,
doors.
there's these portals to other dimensions. They say it's
So back
and
in the
these are out
day,
in the middle of nowhere, like
And-
they're unknown, but like they're not like not many people know about them.
they're just like
local
set
spot.
into the rock, right?
They're perfectly
Yeah.
cut. Like, I wish I had pictures. It's so impressive to actually see it.
Those are demon doorways. And so demons had an ability in the historical context to manipulate rock in some capacity that we just don't know about. And so they would make these sort of archways. So you'll see them throughout history where there's like, even in Egypt, there'll be like doorways and archways that are just in the rock set in. And you're like, what is that? You're like,
It was clearly a portal, too.
yeah, it was like something
that was
was
definitely what it was
there.
meant to be.
Yeah, but we don't know what that is. Well, back in the day, there's like these stories of like trolls turned to stone, right? Or Medusa turns people to stone, or like all these stories of things turning to stone. There's a reason for that because they had some capacity to manipulate rock and to make it stone things out of stuff. And so there's a lot of like connected sort of legends, if you would, that relate to these ideas. Like the dolmen it's so fascinating if you know about the dolmen.
I don't. What are they doing?
Oh, dolmen are
They're megaliths, but they look like they're for little people. They're like they have little holes and stuff.
hobbit holes, like little
Right, yeah,
circuits.
like literally it looks like they have
Interesting.
giant stone, but yeah, they look like they have like these small openings where it looks like, I mean, it's weird because it's like because it's easy to connect giant things to giants.
Yeah.
But then
many people-
you have a small door, and that's really
That
unusual.
throws us off.
Yeah, that's
And they've got two different kinds of dolmen. There's the other dolmens are like the Stonehenge is considered a dolmen. Okay, and they're like tables.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is that? If it's not, and it's like it's not a structure for us to go under. It's too uncomfortable.
So what
for
is
us
the
to-
purpose?
Yeah, well,
A lot of
if you were a
energy,
giant,
yeah.
it would be a really good table for them to grind your bones to
shit.
make their bread, and that's what they are. Like straight up, they were tables that they were using to eat people on.
Because there's no explanation of what Stonehenge is used for. Is there?
No.
Is there
Well, I think that a lot of people assume that it has something to do with some kind of astronomical marker.
Is there
And I
line?
think that it kind of makes sense that a lot of these things, and of course, it's funny when you see the old pictures of Stonehenge. It was all wrecked.
they rebuilt it.
They rebuilt it.
Here's
And-
real quick some of these portals in Peru that me too. They're kind of eerie. They're like,
Oh,
do
yes.
you want to do some
Yep.
DMT there? And I'm like, nah, let's not. I don't want to.
Ooh,
I don't
yeah,
want to
you're gonna
cross this
connect with
dimension.
you're gonna connect with some stuff.
You definitely would have connected. See, that's a demon doorway, like
No,
100%.
you can. Middle of nowhere, they hiked out, and there's all these like doorways cut, and there's
Yep.
all kinds of other weird stuff. It's like,
Well, the portal
right?
thing is interesting because, yeah, like even like the esoteric thing, like where you kind of get into like the mystery schools, like you often see, like the two pillars, like Jocelyn and Boaz, or like the kind of the Solomon's temple, and they're usually an arch, and usually they have like the sign of Cancer over it, and that is a lot of times there's stars and stuff behind it because like that's a portal. And it was really funny is me and Bryan, we had some time when we recorded a podcast in LA, and then we were just going around just trying to find some stuff. And there's this really weird thing there. It's called the what was it called?
Portal to the folded wings.
The portal to the folded wings.
Yeah.
And it's clearly it was built in a cemetery, and it wasn't originally supposed to be that. It was supposed to be built in like 1927.
And it may not have been a cemetery at the time, even.
But
when
yeah,
it was built.
it's a big arch with the dome, and it's like they're calling it a portal. And I think that again, this is an
Something.
esoteric thing. It's like it had some spiritual meaning. There's no doubt about it.
yeah, here's the one they wanted me to smoke DMT at. I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I did it the sexy youngman instead. I'm like, I'm not smoking DMT there.
Yeah,
it gave
bro.
me the creeps.
Did you? Okay, so you notice how to the side there's these little rocks. Okay, to the side. Okay.
That was the Inca building.
Yes.
That's what the Incas made.
So yeah, so there's little rocks. You'll
that's cool, but
notice.
that's not a portal, I don't think.
No, but that's what
That's the thing
It's called the portal. That's what I said.
Interesting. Yeah, these are portals here.
Yeah.
That doesn't
Yeah.
look like a portal.
Well, here's the interesting part. Like the little rocks there that you saw to the side. If you look all over Peru, there will be big rocks as well.
Yeah,
and the little
amazing.
rocks are on top
'cause
of
that's
the
what the
big
Incas built.
rocks. And you're
Yeah.
like,
It's
the
so
little rocks are what we
obviously-
build. The
yeah.
big rocks are not what we build.
And the difference is maybe 100 times better, 200 times better. Like
Yes.
the-
Straighter, more perfect, exact rocks underneath the little rocks that the humans
And not
stacked.
only that, sometimes they have like a cut in. They're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
they have like
Weird
the
shapes.
weird
Do
shapes.
some have like 8-10 angles and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like if you guys get a chance, I would recommend going to Cusco area. I also want to go to Bolivia. I haven't been there, but Bolivia has like lost civilizations too.
Oh yeah,
I'm down.
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
totally
absolutely.
down.
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of the real interesting part about, especially that part of the world. It's like it's so poor, but there was a time where it was obviously thriving. It's just like what really happened, because I think that's kind of like the disconnect in our history, is because we're told like the Europeans were way more advanced than the people in America, and obviously they were, because they conquered.
When they got there were war.
But the things that were built there with the pyramids and the megaliths, like whoever created those things, imagine the Europeans would have had their handful trying to take those, but it's like, so when the Europeans were very backward, it's like that place was thriving, but like what happened? I mean, that's the real question. Is like,
clearly they went backwards.
Yeah, what happened?
150 Spaniards took over the Inca Empire. It's like, come on. Now the
That's-
Aztec Empire was
I don't know if
quite
that's
a
even
battle.
true.
The Aztec Empire was like a battle. They were pretty built up. The guy Cortez, he had to get other people to align with him because they did so many human sacrifices. So it wasn't just the 400 Spaniards took him over. He was super smart. He raised armies of other people there to go fight the Aztecs with him.
Well, do you know what Hernan Cortez, when he first got to that area, do you know that he talked about there being a race of giants there? Did you know
seen
that?
stuff like that? I think I did. I've read some explorer books that talk about giants and stuff.
It's in his writings. He literally says
These guys aren't guys that just like make shit up.
Well, yeah, he was like, and they sent the leg bone. They brought him the leg bone of one of the giants, and he said he sent it to Castile, the first agents that went there. But he said the leg bone of the being was from the hip to the knee, was as tall as he was. So he said there was surely giants, and they talked about there being giants in that land that they fought. In fact, every early explorer talks about this, like all of them.
No, I've
Like-
read some of those books and I've
Yes,
seen it.
not just Hernan
Last thing
Cortez.
I want to show you,
Francis
so
Drake.
you
Oh
can
yes,
see just
yep.
how insane these walls are.
Yes,
It's just
yep.
like I'll maybe put these on the thing compared to what they're building on top of them. It's just like
Yeah.
people don't understand just
And that's
how
the
you don't
below
know anything
rocks.
about building any construction and stuff. This level of this, and look at all the angles and stuff on there.
Oh, yeah.
and right,
There's no mortar. They just
yeah,
like,
I mean,
put them together.
to make it fit together and no mortar. It's
almost impossible.
It's mind blowing.
It's almost impossible. Like all those angles and stuff. It just doesn't make sense.
It is impossible today, because I don't think we could
Yeah,
we could not
recreate it.
replicate
Yeah,
it.
let's see the building.
I want to say
today.
that even there was a time, it might have been like in the 70s, where in Egypt they were trying to build a pyramid, like a modern pyramid. They couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, and that again, that's actually really interesting too, just because when you actually look at it, I mean, the Great Pyramids now, they don't have like the facade they used to have on them, because I think
like
I
white.
believe
They
they
used to be this big white.
yeah, they used to
apparently.
be so what you see now is kind of the skeleton of it. But those stones are uneven and they're different sizes, and yet this thing is completely perfectly level. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know how you wrap your mind around like building something with not level materials, different shapes, and then you still come out with a perfect pyramid.
People that know the things about building understand this is just not really. I'm not a construction guy, but I know enough to know that this is just.
Yeah, it's like
the
try to frame
levels of this. Is
Try to
just
frame a
doesn't make
house out
sense.
when you got like, you have to
Just throwing
when
different angles
When you
together.
go in there, you make sure you go into Home Depot, you get wood that's not warped.
Yeah.
But imagine it's all different
Well, with
sizes.
bricks,
and
you
it's
get bricks that are the same size. You can layer on top of each other, and then you
Right.
still use mortar. They're just cutting rocks and just placing them together. And you can't put paper through it. Just does it. It defies logic.
It's very clearly okay. So here's the thing. This is where the answers come in, because in in old text it talks about these demons that were Nephilim. They were fallen angels that came down and made it with humans, and they created a race of giants. And these giants had an ability of some kind to manipulate rock, to build things. There's an occult book. This is not a book I'd recommend people read. This is occultic, but it's the Lesser Keys of Solomon is what it is. And it's like a book of witchcraft, basically. But they talk about stories that happen, and Solomon supposedly uses a ring with a sigil on it, which is likely that little Star of David, probably, but uses that ring to control demons. Yeah, to control demons to build structures. And this is where we get the idea of Freemasonry. Actually, this is why it's called Freemasonry. And so they use these entities to build these structures throughout the world. And he used demons by doing it. He controlled demons to build stuff. And
That's
we
what the book
see,
says, yeah.
that's what the book says. So we see the evidence of this. Like, and it even alludes to the fact that he used demons to build the temple
the God's temple. God's temple.
the
Yeah.
Jewish
So
God.
David wanted to build a temple for God, but
Yeah.
God said he'd shed too much blood.
Yep.
And so he's going to let his son do it. And then, so we know he did it, but I mean, I don't know. It's interesting, like whether that's true or not. I do believe that certain people believe that's true, and I think that's basically the origin of witchcraft is people using sigils and signs and rituals in order to manipulate demons
To get power
in
from them.
order to get them to do things.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember the first time I talked to David Icke, I'm like, wow, this guy's insane. Now I'm like, maybe not. He's telling me how they take people, they kill them, painful, they feed off the negative energy, and we know who they. You're just like, not just them, but a lot of them, you're like, oh, you tell me something, this guy's insane. Then later I'm like, wait a minute, maybe there's a little bit, maybe it's not as crazy as I thought.
Yep. There's a lot to it. And they say that they built the temple, and if you look today at the temple floor of where Jerusalem, where the old temple was, bro, those are megalithic stones, and we don't know how they put them there.
Interesting.
And I don't know if you've
massive
ever
sacrifices there too, animal, but maybe probably
Well, I mean,
even two.
they were clearly
knows?
sacrificing animals. I mean, I think that the interesting thing about it, if you do read the Bible, and I think a lot of people have heard what it says, but they don't actually read it. By the time, so God sends the Israelites in here to purge out the land of Canaan, and these people were wicked. You have like the Amalekites, and they're like blood drinkers. Like some of the laws, some of the Levitical law is like don't drink blood, but it's like, why would you even need to?
Why does that need to be a law?
Why do you need to be told that?
No one needs to tell me that.
Because they're going into a place where there's human sacrificing babies to Moloch, and all these kind of things. And the way the story goes is that eventually the Israelites, again, they continue to rebel against God.
Shocking.
And then by the end, well, I mean, Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun. What was will be again. So when they eventually, God decides to judge them, uses Babylon to come in there and purge them out. At the end of this story is they were worse than the people that they kicked out. So if you think about it, so they went in at a time where you had these sorcerers, the Amalekites, you had giants who are cannibalistic and wicked. And the Israelites at the end were worse than them.
Worse than that.
So
Not too shocking.
So I mean, so whatever that means, but I guess that you can imagine that,
worse than the
that
blood
by
drinkers.
by the time
Homosexual
by the
giants.
time God decided to judge them, and then of course they build a new temple, and then they have to do it again. God does it again, uses the Romans to do it because again it was like the wickedest generation.
And now they're trying to build a third temple.
Which is
Right.
insane.
Right.
Which
Which
they're
is
actually really
so-
trying to do. People think that's a crazy thing, but there's people that are really trying to make that happen. They have the red heifer already.
They already sacrificed it. They had the ashes. One rabbi
King,
guy
I
had the
know him.
ashes. Oh, yeah.
Surprisingly, we're friendly with each other. It's just like,
That's good.
we
Well,
stay friendly. He's actually in town right now. I think he wants to meet up later today.
what? Oh my gosh, we're gonna hang out.
The red heifers,
Yeah.
the one thing
Adam
shipped from Cat.
King. He's this.
Yeah.
He's a Jewish guy.
Yeah.
At first we were fighting, but we managed to become friends. Oddly,
That's
things
good.
turned out unusual. We hated each other, then we became friends.
That's great.
Unusual friends, but life can work out. Odd.
Indeed.
That's so funny. Yeah, but no, they're planning that, and it's like, dude, they have no clue. Like, it's like there's a group of them. We say that the
Christian
Jews,
Zionists, some of them are involved too with it.
Yeah, we say the Jews, but really, it's not really even the Jews that are running all this stuff. There's things that are beyond that are in control of this. Like that, a lot of them are even being played as puppets. Like they don't even realize it. So like they have an agenda in their head, but they don't realize they're serving.
Who are they working for?
They don't really. They
Is there
think
something
it's
bigger beyond them that they're manipulating, and
exactly. They're being manipulated just as much as everyone else is.
The Jewish end time eschatology and the Muslim and then the Zionist Christian one is very similar. So it's like certain. It's kind of like that if you believe, Bryan and I obviously are a little different than a lot of Christians, so we believe that a lot of stuff already happened. But
let's get into that in a few minutes.
But if you do look at kind of like the premillennial view, we need a third temple. We need an Antichrist.
Yeah.
We need all these bad.
They're literally trying to bring back the Antichrist.
Yes.
But the truth is like, let's just say we're wrong and the things have not happened yet. Well, if God says it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And He doesn't want Christians to promote that, right? Like you don't want to have an abomination of desolation. We don't want God to be blasphemed in a temple that's supposed to be for Him.
Yeah.
But literally, we have Christian pastors like Greg Locke.
Dude,
And he's
might
like,
as well be Jews, but they don't be taken in by Jews. It's crazy.
well, it's just, but yeah, it's
that
like,
guy's a lunatic. He looks as evil in his eyes.
yeah, absolutely,
You can
yeah.
see it.
Well, I
You
mean
can see
that.
How
it
can
in
you
his
call a
heart.
Christian and not care about killing children?
Well, that's demonic. Yeah, that's demonic. So,
It's
but I
bad.
mean, it's like it does seem like that some people are trying to manifest this, whether this is actual biblical prophecy or it's just like it's like the tail wagging the dog. I mean, I think some of it has to do with the idea that they're trying to keep us in this constant trauma state. Oh, it's the end of the world. It's the end of the world. And then you think about it, like a lot of people, especially modern evangelicals, they're real passive because it's like, well, it's supposed to get bad, so we might as well just let it, right? Yeah. And bad things are going to lead to the return of Jesus, so we'll do nothing. We won't try to make this place better while we're here. Which terrible. I think is like, that's just a terrible attitude.
No, we can't just look to that's it's fine believing in the afterlife, but we also have to make this life good. You can't just be like, oh, wait till the afterlife.
Well, that's the truth. That's the Holy Spirit in you talking, bro, because that's the truth. That's what we're supposed to do. And Christians have forgotten that. And so many Christians are like waiting, oh, just wait for the rapture so we can just peace out. And everybody else dies in hell. And it's like, what is wrong with you? How wicked is your heart, man? Like, did you think that you're just going to zap out and then everybody else is going to suffer in pain?
If their heart's not pure, they might not be going to heaven.
No. That is not the place we're supposed to be at. A lot of Christian
Zionists are great people, but they've been just brainwashed. So I don't
want
to
it's not their fault either.
I'm too harsh on them because the majority of them are actually good people, but they've been manipulated so bad.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. But like we were just saying earlier, we had that story about like if you have the ability to do something good for somebody and you don't do it, well, that's a sin.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like that. If you think you could do better, like, I mean, just start with your family, start with your community, start with your neighborhood.
Take care of yourself, then your family, and then you help others. That's what you always have to take care of yourself first, then your family.
If everybody who claimed to be a Christian acted like one, this place would not be like this. But but again, like it's like, what is God wants you to do nothing while everything goes to hell?
Yeah,
I don't think it's Christian.
Especially if you're doing pretty well in life, just little things. It doesn't have to be money either. Just picking someone up
on
a ride,
talking to someone.
Have a conversation with somebody.
Talk to someone when you can tell they're down. If he's had a rough week, maybe I'll give this guy a call.
That's giving. That's giving. It's giving your time.
A Jewish guy who was my enemy were battling, but I thought he was getting attacked so bad the other day, and I gave him a call, and he's just like, I can't believe you called me out of all the people.
That's God in you, bro. That's the Holy Spirit working through you.
Like, it means so much to me. Like, I can't believe. Like, it's such a weird conversation that you're calling to make sure I'm okay because you saw that something really bad happened to me because he was just thrown under the bus by his own community, brutally. And I felt bad for the guy. We said I've been friends, enemies, but I'm like, bro, I got to call and check up on this guy.
Bro, that feeling inside of you when you see that and you felt that hurt in your heart, that's the Lord.
I can see the pain he was in, but at least he appreciated that I gave him a call. Like, this guy's in a lot of pain right now. I need to call him.
But that was you listening to the Holy Spirit already in you, because that you call it your conscience, but it's God. Because if you didn't have God giving us good, God is every good and perfect gift that comes from him. So everything good in the world is of God. Mm-hmm. So like if you feel that need to do something good for somebody, that's the Lord, dude. Yeah. Like working through you. He uses non-Christian, he uses anybody that's willing to listen and operate in love. God is love, the Bible says. Mm-hmm. So just how you felt that feeling, God felt that way about him. Well, and you were feeling the Lord's heart to the point where you were like, I'm going to call him.
Yeah. And he changed. He said some disgusting things about Palestinians before. But after that, he's backtracked some of his stuff. He's just like, damn, I'm embarrassed some of the things I've said and done. And it's just like sometimes reaching out can make someone be like, holy shit, maybe these guys aren't evil that I was fighting with.
They're being manipulated just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And love is the only answer because
I didn't think he was evil either. I just thought he was being manipulated. So I called, had a good conversation.
There you go.
Sometimes people just, hey, call people sometimes. That can help a lot.
Yep.
Like and Adam King we were talking about. You ended up becoming friends with this guy I was fighting with.
That's cool.
You're not going to push people in hate into turning good. So if somebody's doing something evil, the only way you're going to pull them out is with love. Yeah. That's really it.
And it's something I battle with because it can be easy to hate someone when you see them laughing at kids dying and shit, So hate's strong emotion, but then sometimes you realize, like, okay, you're not going to beat it. Some of these people deserve hate, like Benjamin Netanyahu. He doesn't deserve mercy, but like a regular person.
Well, his vengeance is the Lord. So I think at the end of the day,
some vengeance and retribution that's needed.
Yeah, when you think
these people aren't bad people.
Yeah, well, I think that's at the end of the day, it's like it's easy to look at people in big groups, and then obviously you can stereotype the groups, but when you're dealing with people individually, they have the same kind of hopes and fears as we all do, and I mean, when somebody is saying these really evil things, it's like. That's a reason to pity that person. Because, like, what is really wrong with them that they see that that's okay? Yeah. Or promoting that idea. And I think that's the part is, like, the whole kind of the Gaza thing for me. Growing up the same way, we're taught that we got to support Israel and bless Israel. But I'm like, but my conscience says I see suffering and I cannot support that.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, on an individual level, and it's like, oh, well, it's Muslims versus Jews. I'm like,
they're all humans, though.
Yeah, right, but don't they all have the opportunity? Don't they all deserve the same opportunities as we do?
Yes.
And I'm just like, I can't even imagine.
And there are churches in Gaza, or there were.
Well, right. That's the thing.
They have this myth that Christians get killed over there. That's just not true.
Well, yeah,
maybe a couple countries, I don't know, but I've been to a bunch of Middle Eastern countries and been treated great.
Well, that's the interesting part, is that a lot of the real historical holy sites that are in the Palestine and the West Bank, they haven't destroyed them. So it's kind of like,
we need the Jews to protect it. Well, they protect the Muslims.
The Muslims have been holding it.
Yeah, they're still there, right? Isn't that proof that they've been there for thousands of years? So like, what does that tell you? Is that maybe what they're telling you? It's the whole thing, like going on back to 9/11, is that they want us to fear and hate the Muslims.
Exactly.
And then
it's very orchestrated.
And now it seems like they're trying to go back and repeat that playbook, and you're like, that dog's not going to hunt.
Last month, it's working a little bit. It's been pushed heavy again.
Dude,
Muslim hate.
Insane. It's been pushed, and it's literally like so problematic for the world, because people are like, oh, the Muslim, like honestly, dude, like Muslim people are better Christians than most Christians in a lot of ways.
There's some shitty Muslims, but as a whole, I've had good experiences with Muslims.
They operate in the spirit of kindness and love and compassion in most cases, okay? Like, you see some scary internet video, some angry person.
Ones,
but you can see, dude, there's crazier Christian videos that I've seen, like, than I've seen of Muslims. Like,
I think most people haven't had many interactions with Muslims that hate them.
That's exactly what it is.
I don't want to bring more to our country. I wanted to stay mostly, a white Christian country, but I don't hate the ones that are here. And most of them are nice, fine people.
They're just people.
Well, that's the interesting part, and I think that's why it always kind of comes back to the same question: is like, well, how did they get here? Like, why are they here?
Yes,
it's because we fought,
destroyed their country.
We have bombed their countries on behalf of Israel
over and
over again. And so you're like, Islam here is a problem. I do believe it's a problem. But yeah, individually, I know, especially when I first started speaking out on social media, I do a lot of stuff about like kind of exposing darkness and just like talking about like the wicked stuff that's kind of the secret code in movies. And I had a few Muslims that were like really liked my stuff. And I used to do live streams, and this one guy was always trying to convert me, and I was.
They try so hard.
I know, and it was funny. And guys like, hey, we can agree about a lot of things. We're not going to agree about that. But I did get a different perspective on them, because it's like
when you see their kindness.
We could interact and be cordial, and I knew that they had a certain morality base. And I remember when we're told that they consider like Israel and America like the great Satan, and I started to learn
Israel.
And I'm like, and I was like, I started to think about it. I'm like,
the great Satan.
Where's the lie though? Like, you know what I mean? Like, based on like what
we've done,
we promote degeneracy all around the world. You kind of look at the
porn. It's like America's the one.
Yeah, like the
homosexuality.
Yeah, like
comes from America.
Yeah, like the Doge stuff, and just think about like what they get the idea from, like Hollywood and
hip hop,
importing fast food that's basically poison to people.
Yes.
And then so they look at that and they say, that's evil, we don't want that. And then on the other hand, we're bombing them.
Yeah.
So what kind of perspective should they have about us?
Like, they love us? Exactly.
Right. So like
Gaddafi was running I'm not saying he's perfect, running a good country, no usury. I think he gave me like free homes. Oh, let's bomb and kill this guy. And now the country is a mess.
Oh, well, so sad about that.
Well, you think about like
That's
a majority of assassinations and these tyrants that need to be displaced. It all comes back to the fact that these people are trying to lend money to their own people without interest.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I wonder why. I wonder why they had to go. It's like
Adolf Hitler banned usury.
I want to say Napoleon did too, and I think that was
a point. Yeah, all the vilified people banned usury, and these are the villains of history.
Yeah. Yep. You can't separate these economies from the world banking cartel, and as soon as you do, it's like. That's
the real head of the snake right there, and it's so complex and confusing, hard to understand. But that's the real thing. They can print money and charge you interest on money they just created.
Yeah. Now we're talking about they're doing 50-year mortgages and stuff like that, and you're like, and they were talking about 50-year mortgages and 15-year car loans.
Oh my God.
I've never even owned a car for 15 years.
Yeah, well, exactly. I've never gone that long. So they want you constantly in debt. People don't understand how much interest you pay on the debt. I've actually never been in debt my entire life, which is unusual. I went to buy a house.
I have no debt
I had zero credit score. Thankfully, at the time I had cash, so I was just like, all right, bought it cash.
Oh, good. That's great.
Well, I think that's the funny thing about like people think your credit score is like you would think your credit score would be good if you did have no debt,
but it's
opposite. And you paid off like your credit cards every month, or you didn't have any credit cards. You had money in the bank, you have assets, and then you don't have any debt. But actually,
I
you're not.
couldn't get a loan
You're
because
not.
of that.
You don't have a good credit rating because they want the interest money. It's like
think
your rating
You're
is
having to
based on
pay.
the fact that they're getting
They
interest
have a
paid
term
back
for
to
us.
them.
I think it's deadbeats or freeloaders or something.
Yeah, exactly.
As many of you guys know, I run a free speech podcast. That comes as a price. It's being demonetized everywhere. So one way to support the podcast is to buy your books from AntelopeHillPublishing.com. Today's selection is The Trans-Industrial Complex. This book covers the money-making machine of the trans industries and shows it's not to help people, but to make money and get rich. So again, if you want to support the podcast, go to AntelopeHillPublishing.com and be sure to use promo code FIGHTBACK. That'll save you money and support me. Thank you. As many of you know, I have many controversial guests, so that comes at a cost of being demonetized everywhere. So if you want to support the program, go to fightbackpodcast.com, and I have all kinds of merch on there, whether it's jiu-jitsu, fighting, political, and other accessories. And thanks for the support. Some of the credit cards are like 20%, 30% interest. That's just brutal.
What's really wicked now is that they're given, so on top of like student loans for college kids, which I mean, college is such a racket.
And they can't do bankruptcy for them.
But they're giving college kids who don't have jobs credit cards with 20 to 30% interest on it. And then you think that, so they're taking out student loans and they're giving them that. And it's like,
these kids are young. They don't they're not smart enough to know. Everyone wants to blame the kids, but it's like they're 18. They're getting told to do this. Oh, this is what
the Jewish kids are told how that works.
Well, they're told
we're just
to
not
go,
told how
we're not-
that
yeah, we're
works.
not
well, they're
taught that
told
way.
to go to
Teach me
college.
that.
They're told they need to go to college, right? Because they'll get a leg up. And then when they
now they can't get jobs
when
out
they
of
get out
college.
of college, I mean, of course, you know how it goes. Like if you have a business, I don't really care about your degree now.
I don't hire based on people who have
can you
college
do
degrees
it?
or
Can you
not.
do the job?
No.
And so they're all learning that lesson, and now they're like, and a lot of them are entitled because they got a degree. So I can't do that kind of work.
I just hired my second employee and I haven't asked either one of my employees if they have a degree. Is the funny part. I don't
Can you
think
do the
they
job or
but-
can't you do the
but
job?
I hire someone for small hours, part time.
Yeah.
Overwork them for a second, see if they
See
do
if
a
they can
good
handle
job.
it.
If they do, then hire them.
So then they get out,
great.
can't get a good job, and then they realize that they really can't pay off this debt. Like they're always in the hole.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're just hamstringing people. And I think that I'm gonna blame the boomers for everything, but I mean like the boomers.
But they aren't understanding though what the people really are going through.
You should just work harder.
Well, if you buy a house too, the first years you're mostly only paying off the interest. So if you sell it, you paid off the interest. You still owe like the full thing on the house.
Yeah.
They just want us as slaves. Like they want to make us into the haves and the have-nots and make people perpetual slaves. So there's a bigger gap between the haves and the have-not. They want chaos. They like chaos in their environments too, because that's how they traffic children. That's how they do all these terrible things. They're okay with there being chaos in their backyard when their gate is fenced and protected.
Yeah,
And
because
they live-
order
they
out
don't-
of Hegelian dialogue.
yeah.
Order out of chaos.
That's what
they
they're
want
doing.
people killing people on the
Yep.
streets and stuff.
They
and
want it
safe
like
where
that.
they live. They don't
Bro,
live around
dude,
it.
how many homeless children do you see when you go out into the homeless areas? You don't. Why don't you see all the homeless kids? When you think about it, like, go to Skid Row, go to somewhere where it's like sketchy, and very rarely will you find children in the areas. And you're like, well, why? Because drug people sell their children. Drug people give up their children.
Fortunately, I know you're probably right. Because I know a group in an area with drug addicts and seeing just the children all getting abused and fucking.
Yep. You don't. If there's children there, it's rare. But if they aren't there, it's because they've been sold. They've been given to some rich guy that came by in a limousine and said, "Hey, give me your kid. Here's some money for you. Here's some drugs." And the parents are like, they do it. That's why they want people in these desperate states. It creates a bigger gap between the haves and the have-nots.
They'll literally sell their children.
Yes.
That's the most evil.
There's
Your job as a
videos of
parent is
stuff
to
like
protect your
this.
children.
Bro, there's so many videos of like homeless people pushing around babies in shopping carts. I've seen all kinds of weird stuff where you're just like, what's going on with this? And like you can tell they're not well. They want them not well.
No, yeah, they're all drugged out. They can't
Yep.
think. Do you know who Ryan Mata is? He studies like child trafficking. Someone put me in touch when I talked on the phone. I'm thinking, this guy's like a lunatic. He's telling me the number of missing kids through the thing. I'm like, I can't believe this quack podcast. I went and searched what he said. I looked up. It was, I forget the numbers, unfortunately. It was like a couple 100,000 kids going missing that are coming across the border.
Oh, yes.
The number was just so insane. I thought he had to be crazy. I looked up. I'm like, oh my God, how are hundreds of thousands of kids going missing?
Yeah,
1/10 of the kids.
unaccompanied minors and stuff
And
like that.
let's say they explain half of them somewhere, then that's still 100,000 missing kids.
I think it was 70 or 60% of the kids that come across the border from Mexico are now unaccounted for.
Yeah.
Are now unaccounted for.
I thought he was crazy when he told me this. I'm like,
Bro.
oh, why did someone put me in touch with this wacko guy? They went
Okay.
and looked at. I can't bring a
Crazy.
wacko to my podcast. Looked up. I'm like, what?
I'm gonna tell you something that got me banned off TikTok, and I wasn't able to talk, but I talked about this in Mexico because I went down to Mexico, and when I was there, like I came back and I came across the border, but I went to the wrong border, and I was there at this sea of tents of all these people. Okay, and I'm like looking at all these tents of all these people from Honduras and not from Mexico, they're from everywhere, and like some Mexican dude was like, hey, he's like watching me, and he goes, hey, you're not from here. He goes, you need to leave now. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you need to get out now. Get in the car, go, leave right now. He's like, you're not supposed to be here. And I'm like, no, I was just kind of like looking, and he was like, leave now. And so I jump in a taxi.
In that situation, yeah.
Bro, I jump in a taxi with another dude, and I'm like, hey, why'd you guys like tell me to leave the area? He goes, the cartel come through this area, and anybody that's white like you, they kill you on the spot. They take your phone and your wallet, and he says, and they go through and they collect the children. And he goes, you were standing in the spot where they collect children. He goes, you would have, if they came through and they show up randomly, he said, they would have killed you on the spot because they would have thought you were a reporter, and they would have just, they would have ended you.
300,000 missing children. I don't know if that's in 1 year or over the 4-year period. 300,000 missing children.
And just think about how crazy it is too that, like, again, the question would be like, how is this all happening? Because you can't walk from Honduras to Texas.
Just being organized, yes. Dude,
I mean, like, you know, like you can't have unaccompanied minors.
They're all being
how
raped.
are they
They're all
getting
being
there?
raped too on the way through.
Yes.
That's
how-
another thing. It's just like
I know, and it's like that's
300,000 missing. That's insane.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
They came through, they got brought into America, and they just disappeared.
Yep.
If let's say half ended up in a family, that's 150,000 still.
They intentionally make things chaotic in certain countries. Like they intentionally make that Mexico is made to be chaotic. They want it that way.
Like
because
Haiti.
that's they can
like
traffic.
Haiti, yeah.
Haiti.
Dude, bro, and the president of Mexico is not Mexican. For those that don't know, surprise.
Oh, what is she?
You know, she's not Mexican.
I get like that ding ding bell that like Ryan Dawson has.
She's 37 other people, I think, or 37 other people got murdered before she
There's not
became.
very many of her people in Mexico either.
No, yes. And it's like, bro, you gotta wonder, like, okay, at this point, like, why is it like that? Because they want the chaos there, because they use that. Bro, if imagine this. You bring some kid as a white guy into a plane in Mexico, and you have any child from any other country screaming and crying. Is anyone in Mexico going to stop you? Or are they going to go, turn the other way? No, I didn't see nothing. You're a white guy. They're gonna be like, okay, he knows. Oh, he speaks good English. Okay. They're not going to question you. Bro, they show up in Mexico on planes with kids they've kidnapped. Nobody's going to say anything. No one's going to stop them. Bro, I have a friend that literally, they grew up in Mexico. A few friends actually have told me about some of the stuff they've experienced. One of them said they had in their town a truck crashed on the side of the road and fell over, and there was dead children in the diesel truck.
Jesus.
And they said, and it was in their town. Their whole town knew about it. And they said there was, I was like, was there videos or photos? He said, no, they never, nothing went out on the news. They said the diesel truck fell off the cliff's edge and it rolled down, and there was a bunch of dead children in the freezer.
They just cleaned it up and
they just cleaned it up, and nobody acted like anything happened. And
You
it
see-
never got on the news. She said they saw them. They saw the, and I'm like, what?
They hide all this shit. There was
Bro.
just a big, I think it was in Colombia, one of these Jewish sects got busted for trafficking children. I think the second or third time. And they keep getting, it just keeps getting brushed under, covered up. They go to Israel.
That was there was a group, they name them that.
They just got busted again, I think. They were
Yep.
busted a few times. What's their name? There's some weird
Some of the T,
Jewish
starts
sect.
with a T.
Yeah,
I forget.
Unfortunately, I can't think of the name either, but that they just got busted again.
Mm-hmm.
Trafficking children, and no one goes to jail. They keep getting out.
Bro, that's why they want the chaos, because the chaos of all the people from the other countries. If you're in a country and you're not accounted for, what you're fodder. Like, bro, you could disappear and nothing.
They can disappear 300,000
Yep.
children.
Nope, that person, no idea. No,
we
identity.
can't find them.
Yep, they're in an
No big
area.
deal.
Yeah,
And no one's held accountable for that. That's like,
it's so disturbing. You can right now set up to be a facility, or at least under the Biden administration, it was able to be. In California, you could set up to be a housing facility for migrant children. And there's no checks or balances in place. If you had a house near the border, you could submit it to be a migrant housing facility, and they would bring children to your house, drop them off, and you just sign a little check and go, oh, check. I got 10 children here in your house. And then whatever happens to them, there's no checks and balance. And those kids were going missing from these facilities that were migrant housing facilities. And like I talked about this and I got in super trouble, so I don't know if you're supposed to talk about this, but I'm just letting you know right now.
So that's crazy. And there's three types of people that would do that, right? There's people that love children and want to help. There's people that want the check from doing it. And there's predators that want to rape or kill the kids.
And that's the disturbing part.
Sometimes it's the two are the same. They get the money and
the money and that. Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly.
But a lot of foster parents take it for the money because they're foster kids and they're constantly abused by their parents. And there's some great foster parents, but there's some fucking terrible ones too.
Well, the foster system is terrible. It's the worst. There's a total human trafficking center. People don't even realize that.
Needs to be completely revamped. Money needs to be
put into
that. It's just so sad, these poor kids with no homes.
That needs to be totally abolished in the way that it's functioning or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a lot of the satanic rituals. They use these like foster kids.
Bro, okay, think about this. I'm going to ask you a question. What about that policy? Drop off your child, no name, no tell. You just drop them off and we won't. The no name, no tell. It's like they drop off your child. If you want to surrender your baby and don't want to have an abortion, you can drop them off at the fire department or the police, and you don't have to give a name.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah, listen, you don't have to give a name. You don't have to give any information. Okay?
That's insane.
You drop them off, and guess what? Let me ask you a question. Who checks up on children with no name, no tell, gets dropped off? Whoever checks up on, I would love to have an interview with any one of those children. Whoever's watching, if you're one of those children that was dropped off, please contact Jake and have an interview.
Or any of us.
Yes,
I'm actually
I would love to see that you made it to adulthood, okay, and you were not trafficked and you were not eaten, okay, because like the reality is those kids get dropped off and they disappear. And I know a person was in that situation and tried to get a hold of their child, and the children went. The children are now. It's actually a very famous case. Actually, it's in California City, and people can look it up. And it's the missing boys, and they were the Oren and Orson twins or whatever. They weren't twins, but Oren and Orson boys. And it's a really big case. And the district attorney of California stepped in and said, "We deem them dead. Stop looking into it." There's no body was produced. It's so disturbing. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about
two
it.
children.
Yeah, and guess what?
There's a couple of disturbing ones. Finder's Cult. Do you know about that one?
No. Yes, I've heard about that. Yes,
that's one of the darker ones.
Also very disturbing.
One in Belgium where there's convictions and stuff. After I saw those two, that's when I'm like, "Fuck, this is real."
Bro, here's the crazier part.
You should do some research into these. It's dark.
Yes,
dark. But
this is a wild conversation. I don't even know if we should talk about this
sometime. Yeah,
this because this is their food source that I'm talking about right now, and they use the adoption agency and the foster care system to traffic children. And I'm gonna tell you right now, 100%, because where in the town when they were dealing in Bakersfield, where they were at in that situation, they adopted out these children to a man and to a couple. Who the neighbors, they went and interviewed the neighbors. None of the neighbors said there was never children there. And now that the children are missing, all the neighbors said there was never, and the house is like a trap house. And then guess what? They found out recently that the couple that they adopted him out, guess what? The dad, his mom, works at the adoption agency. Right there. And for whatever reason, the adopted parents are now sentenced to prison for disappearing the children because they said we didn't do anything. Guess what? They're going to jail. The mom is not going to jail. The mom's the one that illegally adopted them out to her son, who works at the adoption agency. Guess what? She is in protected custody now. That's what's going on. And that's very disturbing.
It's these things you don't. I only spent like a day or two going on the rabbit hole because it's so dark. But all the finders, I'll send you the other ones. Spend a day going down those, and those are the ones that there's like actually proof of that made me go, oh my God. Because there's like the Franklin scandal, all these other ones with similarities. But I went like, just real quick, the Finders basically was covered by CIA. They found these like 6 kidnapped kids. Then they raided one of the warehouses. They found kids doing sacrifices with goats and satanic rituals.
I've heard about this.
There were some other things to it. It's a ton of details.
The kids were killing each other, and they were...
But then the CIA came in and stepped in and goes, no, we got this, and just shut it down.
That's the interesting thing today is like that. So what we have the final season of Stranger Things out, and that's literally what that's basically about. Is that what they were doing in what they call it the Montauk Project. It was something that happened at this Camp Hero military base. That's what Stranger Things is based on, and they were kidnapping children. And they were doing all kinds of weird experiments on them. Yeah, MK Ultra.
MK Ultra trying to see if they could brainwash the kids.
Well, they were trying to get them to astral project.
MK Ultra.
Yeah, they were people. Yeah, they were trying to get them to astral project. And I think that the thing is like the line between like the science of MK Ultra and witchcraft is the same. It's just like it's like a perspective.
Playing around with that stuff.
Because they're trying to get kids to astral project, which means you go in this kind of parallel realm this dark dimension, and that's what they're showing you in the show.
They
It's like,
damage them, I think, to get them to.
well, yeah, that's what they're
cross
doing is
over
they're
well,
traumatizing these kids, and then they're getting them to basically their minds to disconnect, to kind of
Disassociate.
Mind
fraction
exactly.
your mind, and that's when this empty space is where they try to
Yeah.
potentially insert demons.
No, it's such a dark rabbit hole that you can't spend too much time there. I'll send you the name of the one in Belgium. It's the dark. I'm not even getting to it right now. It's just the darkest shit, and this is like documented, just insane. Let's wrap you guys completely off subject. But you guys said you believe the rapture already happened.
Oh yeah. The you
Like, I'm not a Christian, but that seems completely crazy. So let's hear.
seems completely crazy.
Yeah.
Us crazy. Let's hear this crazy. And we completely switch directions. But the child trafficking shit is so dark.
Dude,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a really
it's-
dark
I-
subject.
yeah, I don't mind talking about something else.
Yeah, I could fucking. I'll send you something you should look up though, but just don't spend too much time on it because it is. That's what made me go, oh fuck, this is real,
Bro.
But yeah, let's go to something light. Let's
Yeah,
switch it
well,
up
this
for,
depending on who the audience is, this might not be light, but yeah,
this might be another dark
basically
subject for
just
some.
the more you kind of actually, if you pay attention to the Bible and the context of it, like especially the New Testament or even the Old Testament's leading up to Christ coming in the first century. Again, we say the first century, but I believe our timeline's been kind of altered, where we once had a certain kind of chronology, and then they stopped it, and now we have an AD chronology.
Yeah.
So, anyways, just thinking back to the times of Jesus, he is prophesied to come at a very specific time, and his audience is the people he's talking to. So, yeah, like the Bible is written for us, but it's not to us.
Yeah.
So, if Christ is speaking to his apostles, he's talking directly to them, and he's telling them he's going to come back in their generation.
It says that in the Bible.
interesting.
It literally says, he says, some of you
Their
standing here
generation.
today will not taste death till you see the Son of Man coming in the clouds. He literally says, some of you standing here
He would
today.
have been back. thousands
Yeah,
of years
so
ago.
you know how Christians are all waiting like, oh, we're just waiting for Jesus. It's been 2,000 years. We're still waiting. We're still waiting. Yeah, because he already came. It already was written. And it's been recorded in history, but guess what? They hide that history, and you can find it. It's very simple. It's recorded, like Josephus talks about it.
Well, it doesn't
Tacitus,
specifically
but-
say that, but it does mention that when Jerusalem was destroyed, there were soldiers in the clouds.
Yes.
Like Tacitus and Josephus, like two of the most famous Roman historians, wrote about this. And I want to say Tacitus wrote that if we would not have witnessed this with our own eyes, you would think this was a fable.
Well, that was Josephus said that. Josephus said, I suppose this account would have been considered a fable were it not related by those that actually witnessed it, like and saw it. He said, but before sunsetting, chariots and troops of soldiers in their armor were seen standing among the clouds and running around surrounding of the cities. And then they heard a great earthquake and heard a great noise, and a great multitude spoke out and said, let us remove from here. Let us be gone. Let us remove hence. And like there was just like some chaos that ensued. But like they write about an event, and the most of his writings are like pretty boring. It's like this begat this, and then all of a sudden you get to this part, and he's like talking about
chariots come from the clouds.
giant
Yeah.
chariots.
it's
and
pretty,
troops. You're
where
like,
did this
what
come
is
from?
this?
It's not something they tell you in church, which I think is kind of it's like a lie by omission, because where people really get the end times eschatology from is they go to Matthew 24, Luke 21, and Mark 13, and this is called the Olivet Discourse, where Jesus is telling the apostles about the destruction of the temple. That's how it starts, and it's ultimately the destruction of Jerusalem. So he's listing all the things that are going to precede the destruction of the temple, because that's what they asked him. Like, so when are these things going to be? And so he lists all the things, and then he tells them, before this generation passes away, all these things will take place.
Before this generation.
And so
yes.
that's the interesting
that
part
all
is
the
like,
things take
as
place.
we were talking earlier about, people are saying, oh, there's got to be a third temple. Oh, there's got to be an Antichrist. This story is about the second temple, the one that's no longer exists. And obviously that Wailing Wall, that was not part of the original
no,
temple.
that's a Roman temple.
Yeah, that
That's
was part of a
or
Roman
fortress.
That was part of a Roman
What
fortress.
is that wall there to kiss? I don't get that.
Well, I mean, you get into some weird stuff where, like, why do they have this kind of...
Also, Adam came to that.
Yeah, you can look this up, and actually, I believe it says it in Josephus, is that Jesus prophesies that this temple will not have one stone left upon another.
It says that in the Bible.
Yeah, so the idea that these people are doing some kind of ceremony at part of the temple is kind of like a denial of the thing he said, because he said it's...
pretend that's part of the temple, but it's not.
Right, because actually, I believe Josephus wrote about this, that when they were burning down Jerusalem, all this gold from inside the temple melted down into the foundations. So the Romans actually went in, pried up all the foundations to get the gold out.
They ripped up all the
like fulfilling
blocks.
what Jesus said.
Sounds like what Jews would do.
Well, fulfilling what Jesus said to the word, that not one stone was left on another when it was destroyed.
Yep.
And so that's the thing is that,
and that happened in 70 AD around that time.
A lot of people historically believe he gave that speech in 30 AD. 40 years later, this was done, and
it still would have been the generation.
In a biblical generation,
which is 40 years.
40 years. So this happens, and of course,
perfect on the time.
And it makes sense too in the mindset that he tells them, some of you standing here will not taste death. Obviously, the implication is some of you guys are going to be dead when this happens. But
some will still be alive.
But some could still, because some would still be alive for you.
People did live long sometimes back then. It was just people
if there
were
was like a
15-year-old because of like infections and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I believe that is what he's talking about. And of course, then you get into the book of Revelation. It's kind of a more worldwide context of like, it's the letters are written to 7 churches that are in modern day Turkey. But that's the interesting part, is they're not anymore. Because if you actually look at these historical sites where these churches once were, they had to be excavated. All those things were ruins.
They're all destroyed.
And so the book of Revelation is saying, like, these are the things that are, and these are the things that soon must come to pass. At the end of the book, it says, do not seal up this prophecy because the time's at hand. And so you think, like, this was, like, if you got a letter to you and somebody else assumes it's to them, it's like this, we're like reading somebody else's mail.
Yeah.
And we're saying, oh, it must be talking about Donald Trump, and must be
people.
talking about Donald Trump and China and all this. It's like,
if Trump's giving us a speech today, and in 1,000 years people try to act like talking to him, it's like things change.
Right. So these historical churches do not exist anymore. So if like these letters are sent on behalf of Jesus, telling them these things are going to take place soon. Well, I mean, it's hard to deny the physical evidence of like this book is prophesying a very destructive event, and then these places were like 45 feet under the ground in some places. Yeah. Like the pictures when you see the early excavations of them, it is mind blowing when you see these gigantic Roman columns that are just completely under the ground. Wow. And I when I first learned that, I was like, yeah, that's there's something about that. But what today they teach in the church is you have this 70-week prophecy of Daniel that leads to the Messiah. And it's, 7 years for each week. So it's like 490 years. Well, they get to the 69th week and they say, all right, there's a separation of 2,000 years. And then we're waiting for the last week. And that's the 7-year tribulation.
That doesn't make sense.
That's how they get around the generation.
That's how they get around this prophecy about the 70 weeks of Daniel starts with the decree to rebuild the temple, because this is the setting is Daniel's in Babylon. And the temple is in ruins at this point. Jerusalem's in ruins. So he's saying, he's praying to God and he's asking, like, what's going to happen to my people?
Yeah.
And then so God sends him an angel to tell him, hey, there's this 70 weeks, and these things will lead to the building of the temple again, rebuilt temple, and it will lead to the Messiah.
But that rebuilt temple was not. No, that was referring to the second temple.
That was referring to the
second
that was
temple
referring
that
to
was
the
built.
temple that Jesus told the apostles that was going to be destroyed.
Yes.
So that's why when people say there's got to be a third temple,
there is no third temple.
It's not biblical. That's not in the Bible. The only reason people are saying that is because this prophecy includes a temple and an Antichrist that goes in there.
But that already happened.
But the temple's not there. I mean, like literally in the prophecy, it says that this man is going to put a stop to the sacrifice, the daily sacrifices.
Which that happened in multiple instances. Nero. So there was not Nero. It was who was the one?
Well, it's the historical Antichrist is harder to pin down. We're just saying, just based on like the prophecy is about that the daily sacrifices are going to cease.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was like, I remember when I first kind of like started to question that. I'm like, they have ceased though. Like, like literally, it's like they are trying to insert things into the future because it doesn't make sense that like they're going to have to start sacrificing again only for them to stop.
Yeah, it's fabricated.
But we're told
they want to sacrifice the heifer. Isn't sacrifice demonic?
Yeah, it is to some degree for sure now. I
thought Jesus was some pacifist, turned the other cheek, but then I was told that's more of like an insult. And then when I found out he like attacked the temple, flipped tables, probably it doesn't say, but I doubt he did that alone. I doubt he went to the temples. He probably raised like 100 people, people raided the temple.
Well, that's actually I think he did do it alone because I think that's why
it's possible. I don't know.
Well,
I'm
that's why
that he would have done it with people.
That's why he was rejected. It's because what they wanted him to be They wanted him to be somebody who overthrew the Romans.
Yeah.
They wanted him to have an army. They wanted to be with them and to go, upturn like the establishment.
Could he have done
but
that
he
alone,
was
though,
upturned.
you think, in a building so powerful? That was like their banking capital, their sacrifice. That was like
Well, if he had a whip in
that
his
was
hand.
like their government right there. No, I guess it's possible.
Bro,
They were
if you put a whip in my hand, you ain't gonna stop me. Bro,
He also might have roused up his people and be like, let's go fucking take these demons on.
Well, Jesus was meek, but that's not to say weak.
Yeah.
Like, because even actually when he's going up to the cross, when he's carrying his cross up, there's women weeping for him. And you know what he tells them?
Yeah.
He says, "Do not weep for me, daughters of Jerusalem. Weep for yourselves. Weep for your children."
Wow.
He's saying, like, when he's describing the events that are going to take place, that's what he's telling them. So, and that's the really interesting part, is that when Jesus is before Pilate and Pilate wants to release him, but he says it's one of the traditions they would release one prisoner. And so they said either Barabbas, who was a murderer, and he was trying to lead a revolt against Rome. They said, give us Barabbas. And then so Pilate says, I'm going to wash my hands of this innocent man's blood. And then what they say is, put the blood on us. Put it on our children.
This is considered anti-Semitic to say that, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I agree.
Under those new laws, you might get arrested.
Well, right, but that's literally what they say. And of course, when you actually read into the book of Acts, the apostles are going right to the Pharisees and they're saying, you guys murdered the Lord. You guys murdered the Messiah. Like, right to their faces. Of course, Stephen says that, and they stone him after that. But yeah, just to think like that a lot of this stuff is fulfilled just right in the scriptures. Like, like they're waiting for this to happen, but he's telling them
it's happening.
He's telling them it's happening.
Yeah,
soon.
he said it's the people.
When you guys say it's happening this generation,
they
what's your
can't
counter to that? Because
they can't argue it. Actually, they try, and then they try to.
Say something.
This is what they say. They'll say like, "Well, it's metaphorical." Like, dude, bro, the Bible literally
isn't metaphorical.
Yeah, the Bible literally says, yeah, exactly. It's not metaphorical, and the Bible literally says like it lists out a bunch of churches in Revelation, and it says all these churches that he was talking about, and it literally says this Laodicea and this Church of Philadelphia, and it's like it lists them all. Those churches don't exist anymore. Wow. They did exist. And you know what the Christians today have to go? They have to go, well, maybe it's like a proverbial.
Yeah, they're saying like these represent church ages. They're not literal churches.
They take all the things that were literal and they try to convert them into metaphysical like constructs. And you're like, bro, how about Jesus just said what he said and it happened how he happened and it did what it did. And you're the people. Well, and we're the people that come afterwards. Because this is the thing. When you read in Revelation 20, it describes the events of where we're at. Like, it describes it pretty darn close. It says, people miss this. The Christians think they have this concept that like God's going to show up one day and then all of a sudden Jesus is going to show up and everything's going to be happy and we're all going to be good and everything's going to be wonderful and we're going to know that Jesus is here. And it's like, dude, where do you get that idea? Because there's nothing that the Lord does where it's like 100% for sure. Like, it's like everything he does, like even Jesus's birth, like people were doubting that Mary was like, we were just talking about
doubting
this.
if she was a virgin.
Yeah, it was like, okay, there's no way you're a virgin.
Of his mother being a harlot.
Yeah, and it's like, bro, even that, it's like, bro, everything God does, he does it just enough for you can doubt it.
There's a faith aspect
so that way your faith is the one that makes the determining factor of what is true. What makes you think Jesus is going to show up and everything's going to be 100% happy and perfect and you're missing it. Like, that's not how God works. Like, God wants us to have the freedom of our choice to make decisions. Mm-hmm. And so that's why if you read in Revelation 20, at the end, it says that the Satan will be let out after 1,000-year reign of Christ. It says all this stuff will happen. Destruction will happen to the temple, which did all happen. Yeah. Historically all happened. All the events happened. All the things happen. And you see it in Revelation. And then after that, it says there will be 1,000-year reign of Christ. And you're like, well, what's a 1,000-year reign of Christ like? Well, you know how long the Dark Ages lasted? About 1,000 years. And you're like, okay, well, that's weird.
Yeah, there was a Byzantine.
Yeah,
the Romans converted to Christianity, and they call it the Byzantine Empire. Yep. And they supposedly were told that their reign was from 300 AD to 1300 AD.
Yes.
And so it was 1,000 years. And this is the period they call the Dark Ages.
We really don't know that much about
we don't know.
They took all the history.
We don't know hardly.
I don't know that much about the history.
We don't. Mm-hmm. Well, the truth is, there's really not a lot of history about it,
right? So
I mean, that's why
kind of disappeared.
That's really one of the reasons they call it the Dark Ages because there's so many blank spots. It's like the idea of like that Roman technology was lost.
Yet we have some of the most fascinating structures and the phenomenal structures coming out of that time frame, and it's just like,
The Dark Ages.
Yeah, the Dark
it
Ages.
is
You're
just
like, they built these things with horse
doesn't
and
look that
buggy,
dark.
and you're like, this doesn't make sense.
If the devil was in the bottomless pit, it would be dark for somebody.
Yeah, it would be dark for Satan for sure.
That's
But
true.
no, but-
it would be the Dark Ages. If
Yeah,
you
it
were
was
Satan.
And then, of course, after that is the Enlightenment period, right? Which is interesting. That
Satan was let out. Lucifer, the light bringer.
illumination. But yeah, the common argument is for lack of physical things of like, well, when did this happen? So it's kind of like the real. It's really hard to say that Jesus is not saying what he's saying, but what they really try to rely on is the fact that, well, when did this happen? When did this happen? Like we would know.
Yeah,
and that's
they
what it's
think
always
they
about.
think
Like
they would
they're
know.
looking for. Of course, it's difficult to not read your bias and the things you've been taught.
Yeah, we all need to work on that.
What it's supposed to say, but so they're trying to say, well, in my mind, it's going to play it like this. So therefore, I don't see
It's
the
pride.
evidence that this is taking place. But I think that the way that basically all our research has kind of come together to kind of make this make more sense is that there is like all the mysteries. Like how do we know? How do we not know all the things from like the last 2,000 years? Because we're told like
The Dark
that
Ages, they disappeared.
that the Romans wrote things down. So they're saying like, well, there's not enough history to prove what we're saying. But we're saying, but doesn't the lack of history speak to that this could be true? And if you believe that Christ's reign on earth was a certain way, well, how does the devil deceive people after that time anyways? Because regardless,
Yeah,
that's
because
what
it says he's let out after the 1,000 years of peace. It says Satan's
means
let
he'd be
back
out right
out
now.
to deceive the nations, and that's what we're walking in.
Yeah.
and you gotta ask yourself, like, dude, if Satan's let out to deceive the nations, well then that's why everything's so confusing. Why do you think they put 666 in everything? Because they're trying to confuse you, and they're trying to
put it out in the
fabricate
open.
end times so that way they can bring about their agenda, so we don't love each other and operate in peace. We think, oh well, Jesus is gonna come. It's got to get bad. Peace out, everybody. And that narrative is so
But we need to-
satanic.
yeah,
It is
we
so
need to
evil.
fight. They don't want to
Yes,
fight.
they don't want to fight.
It's
They
like,
just
maybe
but
ask
it-
for God's
yep.
help, but you better be working your ass off too while you're asking for God's help.
Bro, and there's two events that are very fascinating. The word to me was in 70 AD. Well, first in 536 there was a darkness that went over the whole earth, and the whole earth. I don't know if
What
you
year
know about
was this
this.
again?
536
I've heard about the
AD.
darkness year,
Yeah,
536 AD.
and there for a year and a half, for 18 months.
So crazy.
Supposed to be
Don't
the
know
worst
about
year
this.
ever. 18 months of dark.
Yes,
Yeah,
there
I've
was
heard about
no
that. That's just so
sun.
insane.
It darkened the sun, and the moon probably turned blood red. We know this because even right now, if you have a fire outside, you can see the moon turn blood red. If there's a fire and you look up at the sky at night, the moon is full. It will be red. And you're like, well, that's weird. Well, guess what happened? There was also a massive event. They said a volcano erupted.
Yeah.
Okay. There was our first volcano that erupted was in 76 or about 76 AD. It was Pompeii.
Oh, 70,
yeah, yeah.
Well, 79 AD
79
is
AD,
the
yes.
is the very first volcanic eruption in our historical record.
That we wrote down.
Really?
Yes.
Right. No, most people don't know that, but it's just funny how like
didn't know that.
we're like
Right
you know-
around the time of all this other chaos
Yeah.
happening, right when the Bible says, oh, there's fire is going to rain down from heaven and all this other stuff's going to happen. So, like, what makes you think that volcanic eruption wasn't skewed and it actually was closer to 536, was actually 70 AD, and it was the destruction that happened afterwards? Like,
Right.
we just
Well,
don't know.
right. It's like
the
the-
sun blotted.
It's like
Yes.
the idea that,
Can you
and I guess
imagine
it's
the hell of that.
But it says it in Revelation. It says the sun will
No,
be
I've heard
darkened
that
in
actual
Revelation
history,
and the
too.
moon
I've
will be
heard
turned
that
blood
written,
red.
like before a few times. That actually there's records of the
Yes.
showing of the sun like being
Yep.
gone. Like
It
a
says
year.
the sun will be darkened, the moon will turn blood red. If a volcano erupted, it would darken the sun and the moon would turn blood red. That is if it was so big that it took over the whole earth. And that's actually what happened.
So you had that. So not only did that happen, but during this time of 18 months of darkness, there was famines, and then it was followed by something called the Justinian plague.
Children were getting eaten.
That they believed that up to 90% of the population in that area could have died of plague. So you have wars,
Yeah, these
you have
plagues are brutal.
famine, you
Yep.
have cosmological
Chaos, yeah.
signs that are absolutely insane. And so that what I know a lot of people probably at home have never heard this, they're thinking, well, 536 is a long way from the first century.
Yeah.
But that's where you kind of tie in again. And what I mentioned that we're told these are the years, but how would the devil deceive people? I think stretching these things out on a timeline, because they can't be totally hidden. Because I mean, obviously, this happened around the whole world.
Yeah, people
But
will
what
find,
if?
like, small
But what if they're
records of
stretched
being
out
brought.
further and people are disconnected? And that's why it's really interesting when you actually get down to what the definition of the Dark Ages is about. The reason they call it that is because architecture, language, and culture did not advance for 1,000 years.
Yeah, right.
Now just think about that.
It's insane when how advanced things were to say nothing
Yes.
advanced for 1,000
like
years.
nothing
It's insane.
nothing changed for
For
1,000
years.
You
years.
had Rome, and then nothing
Yes.
changed. Egypt, Rome,
So
and nothing.
well,
And then
just
we
think,
just pause for
just think
1,000
about
years.
just think about all the
Joke.
things that have changed in our lifetime.
Yo, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
changed.
so now,
Cell phones.
so
They didn't have these as kids.
so
Yeah,
now
no.
think about 1,000 years. Nothing really changed.
That's
It's
insane.
it's a lie. I mean,
asinine.
It has to be, like-
it's a
Yes.
lie. But yeah, so that's why there's been some kind of a alternate chronology theorists. They've concluded that up to like in the first 1,000 years of AD chronology, there could be up to 700 years added to it. And of course, even from the times of Christ to today, some people believe like 1,000 years are fake.
Yeah.
And so that's why if you actually look into it, there's a one.
It's almost like a missing 1,000 years.
Well, it's like that you
They
can.
added it. They
Well, there's
just
a-
added this
not
in
fully missing, but like
to
big
manipulate
parts
it.
of it are like.
Well, it's kind of like
Yeah.
they have some of the story, and that's why again that when I first started to like research the Roman Empire, that historians debate when it fell within hundreds of years.
Damn.
And I was like,
that's a big gap.
I said, how does that make any sense? This is supposedly like the most influential empire of all time, and we
Hundreds
don't.
of years?
Like I said, that's a problem for me. And so yeah, there was a mathematician, a Russian mathematician named Fomenko, and he's the one who was kind of showing that like a lot of these historical figures seem like they're being duplicated. These peoples sound like the same peoples. And so I think that's what it's saying, that there was a collapse of civilization in the Western Roman Empire in early antiquity, and they always attribute that to like the barbarians. But then in mid antiquity, like there was a problem 536. Like a lot of it, the society was collapsing. And then there was another one in the late antiquity, the very end of the 1,000 years, around the 900s in Northern Europe. But the first, where the middle one is so drastic, where I think historians also tied the collapse of the Mayan civilization at the same time. There's historical accounts where,
like I said, those are massive civilizations too. They just
Yep.
collapsed.
but if you think of, I mean, if you really just think about it, if the sun did not shine for
It'd be
18
hard
months,
to survive.
Yes.
it would affect the whole world.
And Jesus said how
the
terrible
whole world.
it
So
would be.
so this researcher that we've kind of been fond of is named Gunnar Heinsohn.
Yeah.
And he said that those three collapses or one.
Yes.
All that was
Interesting. So
one
it wasn't
time,
really
one
three.
time, and I believe that's where we kind of get our broken chronology, where like eventually we had to change the calendar to now AD chronology, which is Anno Domini, which I think is really significant because if you read
Used
how
to
the
be
Bible
after
ends,
death.
Yeah.
at least what we're talking about, no, it's Anno Domini is the year of our Lord.
Yes.
So that at some point the world
But it
acknowledged that Christ was Lord, and we changed the whole calendar based on that.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's the whole AD. That's where we switched it, right? Because of Christ.
And you think
Yeah.
about
Christ after Christ.
so there's old buildings with dates on them. A lot of times
Anno Domini is like-
we assume it's a 1, but a lot of times it's an I.
It's an I for
or
Jesus.
an I or a J.
An I or
So it
J,
could
yeah.
be like the year of our Lord.
like 8 instead of
do you
I
guys know, like-
842. It's actually not 1842. It's I 842.
Interesting.
It's Jesus 842.
Something else
Like
kind of
Jesus.
connected is
Yeah.
tons of these massive libraries were burned intentionally.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Like even
yeah.
there was something, the writings weren't exactly thing, but even the Americas, they didn't have full on writing, but their stuff was all burnt. The stuff here in
Yep.
America,
Great fires.
Every
Every
fire,
city.
all-
Yeah.
the cities too
The
were burnt.
burning of
So
the
it's
Library
like-
of Alexandria
Yeah.
in Egypt.
That was
and-
deliberately, right? I think that was deliberately.
Well,
there was
I mean-
one in the Americas that was burnt. I mean, the writing was a little different and is not as advanced as ours, but still,
I don't
they
know,
Burned all
but-
like the Aztec records and
I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, Bryan often talks about that, like it's really hard to find older books. Like,
Oh, yes.
yeah, from like what-
Over. Yeah.
old-
Anything
yeah,
over.
old,
Anything
old.
older than the 1500s is like
yeah,
very
don't
difficult
really
to
hardly
find.
exist on. It's all been like
Yes.
deliberately stomped. That's the weird one. Like, okay, is it lost history deliberately or unintentionally?
Well, you have in the
There's a lot.
in the Vatican vaults, they say that this is what they say.
Smithsonian's.
They say that there's 53 miles worth of bookshelves in the Vatican vault.
Crazy.
So what's really
what
down
are they
there?
hiding? Isn't it a shame all the knowledge that was burnt intentionally? Just so shameful.
It's just to confuse us, dude. It's to make us confused at where we're at, what we're doing, who we are, what's going on. It's designed intentionally to confuse us because they believe knowledge is power, and the ones that know can take advantage of the ones that don't know. That's kind of what's going
They
on.
want us disconnected from God too. That's
Yeah.
another reason
Yep.
why I started to realize there's such an attack on God. Why are they
Yes.
attacking him so much if he's not real?
And then they give you things like,
why is the one God who's allowed to be attacked all the time is Jesus?
Yeah,
And they-
You know what I mean?
You
Like,
can
that's the
mock
one thing-
them, you can
We were watching like the newest
Yeah.
season of Stranger Things. The amount of times they say GD or JC, like it's. I mean, it's not uncommon to hear that, but I mean, it's just. But
Constant
but
mockery.
the amount of times they do it, and you could never do it with any other religion like
well,
that.
They do mock Islam, but they won't with Muhammad. 'cause
But, you know,
they
but
Muhammad,
know
damn.
They know the
That's what they're gonna
Muslims
say.
go a little
Well,
hard.
but that's the thing. But it's still
the
like
two
but
groups they mock are white men and Muslims. Like there's a big media push against.
well,
those
it's
two
just that
groups.
that's they're trying to create the division. That's the black and white
100%,
tile.
That's exactly the same.
It's like-
thing.
it's
black
like-
and white. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing with like Nick Fuentes is like pushing all of this agenda, and it's like Nick says a lot of good stuff, but ultimately his message is that humanity can't control itself and that humanity will go into darkness if left unchecked. So we need to make more divisions, and it's like that's not quite the message,
I
bro.
want less division.
We need less division because that's the opposite, bro. Like what he's doing is he's pushing the white tile versus
Yeah.
the black tile, and it's like, bro, you're kind of playing into what they want, man.
No,
like,
they want us
dude, you're
divided.
Yeah,
you
divided.
want they
I
want the
can get along with
division.
any of these groups, and I've actually talked
Yeah.
to some of these white nationalists. They're really nice people, but my ideology doesn't fully align. But I do understand the specs they made. Of like when I realized, all the white countries are being flooded with immigrants. That's
Yeah.
the one that really hit me. I go, okay, you guys are right about this.
Yeah, but they want the
But I don't want
division. That's
hatred
why.
towards other races, though. But
Yeah.
it's like,
Well, there's the hidden hand that's controlling all this
Yeah.
stuff. And I mean, I think that's the thing. Is like, of
very
course, you
deliberately,
put two different groups who don't
There's gonna
speak
be
the same
problems.
language.
it's
They have
gonna
different
cause
cultures.
tension, yeah.
That's the goal. Is that they want hostility between the two of us because it's like you spend a bunch of money to build this nice house in this nice neighborhood, and they're gonna put some
Third
low income
world,
housing
yes,
behind it.
from
It's like
Somalia.
you know, like that's what they're trying to antagonize people.
It's so crazy how they do that. You can move to like the nicest area, and they'll put Section 8 next to it. It's like I work my ass off not to have to, live on this, have a safe thing, and then they put
They
Section
want
8
it.
right there.
They want the chaos. They want the haves and the have-nots. They want the black and the white tile. They want the divide between the bigs and the littles. They want
They want chaos. They
That
want
is
chaos.
the
They want us hating
instability.
each other.
That's
They
where
want us.
that's where the royals can take advantage of the peasants. If everybody's equal,
Yeah.
then it's not peace. If everybody's like, hey, look, I'm doesn't matter what color I am, doesn't matter what color you are. If we're all equal, like, bro, whatever, live in our space. You have preferences, I have preferences, whatever, and we just treat each other equal. There will be like some natural divides that happen, but if we don't make a big deal of it, it's like
Then we start noticing who's
Yeah.
causing the problems.
Yeah.
Why is our money inflating?
yeah. Well, that's
Why do I have 30
every
interest? Why do I need a
Yeah.
50-year mortgage? Why,
Every
who's asking
time.
these questions? Why are we going to war with Venezuela? Why is? But instead, it's this black guy did this
Yes.
or this,
Yep.
And it's not that there can't be issues. Yeah, maybe they let too many violent criminals out of jail. Yes, this is an issue, but they're trying to keep us fighting.
Well, they
black
create
versus
the criminals.
White,
They
Muslim versus Christian.
They create the sides. They
Yeah.
create the criminals. I mean, like the
They
whole
just keep letting them out of jail too. It's
bro.
like,
Yes,
this guy's like.
they invented
Yeah,
them.
it's
This guy
Bro.
ridiculous.
killed people and not in the back out of jail.
Bro, they want,
a fighter
like,
whose daughter was
who-
raped and murdered by a guy who had killed a couple people, had some attempted murder cases. Like, how is this guy not in prison?
Bro, who invented rap music? Do you know?
Yeah, Jews.
Yeah, the Jews invented the rap music. And what is the rap music? Did you know when the
It tells
F the
black people
police
to kill each other and call
Yes.
them the N-word.
Yep. What the F police song came out too? When that came out, there was like a 300% increase against violence against the police.
At
If
the
people
at
don't,
the same time, they're privatizing
Yes.
all these prisons.
Well, I had
If
a black
people don't
nationalist on
realize
recently,
that.
Yeah, they're
and
privatizing.
he was
them.
like, I
These
think
people are
I-
investing
yeah.
in prisons at the same time. All
Yes.
this music is coming out.
Well, I said the N-word around the guy, but like quoting someone, and he very politely goes, "I don't use that word, and I really appreciate people around me that don't." And I'm like, but then he explained why, and I'm like, bro, you just made so much sense.
No
He's
one
like,
should
you know,
use it.
He's all no other.
No
race,
one should use
no
it.
other race calls themselves. He wasn't like if he would have attacked me, it'd have been a different story. But like no other race runs around like calling themselves fucking N-word.
Me and my
Yes.
friends, me and my
Low,
friends used to call each
degenerate-
other N-words when we
Yeah,
were,
well,
because
like,
we listen to the music. It's
What's
like
the
it's
worst
kind of
thing
weird
you call
for
a white person. I don't know. Or,
Cracker? I don't know.
and we kind of
Yeah.
just laugh. We kind of laugh at that. I
Asians
guess.
are like, yo, what up, chink? Or it's
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, wow, bro, you have a good point. It's like it's trying to make us think less of ourselves.
Yes.
I'm like,
I
I'll
think
I'll
I've
never
never-
use that word, and I'll try not to use that word overall now.
I totally agree. Like here's the thing. It's like if you're gonna tell me I can't use the word, well, you can't use it
exactly,
either.
but that's where my
Don't you
problem
freaking
comes
use
in.
it either. Like because that's if you're gonna say that, then no, nobody says it.
No, that's how I stand. But when he
Yep.
said that, I'm like, 100%. I apologize. Like,
That's good though because like we need to
we
not
listen to each other. Yeah.
yeah we need to not diminish each other and not
He was like,
talk
fuck you. You
negatively.
can't say that word. It's like that's not gonna work.
No.
Well, it's just like the whole thing where like that if if anything your behavior has like that you could modify if it really offends somebody, it's kind of like my goal is not to offend people.
Yeah, it's to love people.
Sometimes it's being told.
Sometimes you want to offend people.
Sometimes the truth is going to be offensive to
Yeah.
people, and that just I can't really help that. But at the same time, like it's kind of like the whole pronouns thing. It's like you don't like you can disagree with it without trying to be like really confrontational about it. You know what I mean? Like,
but I'm not
like,
gonna call somebody. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
I agree with that. I'm just saying,
no,
like,
I'm not gonna do
the point is like that when you meet somebody like in a store or something like that, you don't have to draw attention. You don't have to necessarily be confrontational about it. I don't think that that's like as being somebody who is trying to keep more peace. Like it's to live peaceably with all is part of what the Bible tells us to do, if possible. It's not always possible,
No,
but
exactly. Sometimes you do need vengeance and hatred and stuff, but you don't want to hold that in your heart.
yeah, for sure.
Well, just love people. I think that's the thing we need to
you
do more
definitely
of.
wanna-
More than
more love.
anything is unity and love. And it's like the world wants the division because they thrive off of our division. So I'm just like, just love everybody, bro. Like, that's what it needs to be.
Yeah, I'm trying to spread more love than hate. Sometimes you realize, like, okay, maybe gotta be careful with your own rhetoric stuff. I got a bigger platform now. It's like sometimes you get angry, say things. Like it's hard not to get hate sometimes when you see kids getting killed.
Oh, for sure.
That's
That's the one that
well,
gets me.
hating
well,
things,
the Lord
hating,
doesn't like that
hating
either.
things that God hates.
No, and
is
I do
not-
hate. I do hate some people still. Don't get me wrong. But I'm
The
saying,
Lord
try not
says
to hold
it's-
hate towards most people.
The Lord says it's greater for you to have a millstone tied around your neck than when you hurt one of these little ones. So clearly God has a special hate for people that hurt children.
those people deserve
And
hate.
David in the Psalm said he hates God's enemies with a perfect hatred.
Yeah.
So it's okay. You don't have a little hate.
Yeah, what does that mean exactly?
Any,
Yeah.
You need to plug or any closing things you want to hit before we wrap? It's like another.
I mean,
interview.
Yeah, you
I
can.
could go another hour, but
Yeah, no, I know you got to do your stuff, bro. I would say, like, hey, if you want to know more about the Nephilim, you can do the documentary that we released, which is Ancient Angels, and it's just at ancientangels.com. We teach people about a lot of the megaliths, some of the stuff we were talking about earlier, and like what Tim Alberino dude busted in. We talked about like so.
But yeah,
you know,
but yeah, if you want to know more about the Little C's, and you can check us either of our social medias out. You can check out JT follows JC on YouTube. I'm on Apple and Spotify. You can check me out there. But yeah, if you like shorter reels and stuff, TikTok, Facebook, and also Instagram.
Yeah, and
Nice.
Demon Erasers is mine, and it's same YouTube, Instagram, whatever. All
Good,
Demon
it's good to keep the
Erasers.
same name everywhere. We
Yep.
said
Yeah.
Demon Erasers. That's an unusual one.
Yeah.
But dude, you showed me videos of some exorcism. Man, they looked real. You said you were very respectful. You wouldn't post them because.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this shit being like, are these some damn good actors or it's just crazy as shit, dude? That's when I first met you. You showed me that, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's very real, bro. It's very real, bro. There's so many
They have
things.
good
you
actors,
see.
if not.
No, yeah,
Truth
real good
is
actors.
stranger than
You
fiction.
see the videos? Yeah, that was
Oh,
like
yeah,
a shock
yeah. Oh,
when you
yeah,
showed me that
mhm.
shit. Just like look at this, being like, what the fuck? Well,
It's very
Thanks so
fascinating.
much, guys.
All right, bro.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks.